I grew up in Enterprise. My mother left my father when I was 1 year old and brought me to my grandmother and grandfather. And I lived there until my grandmother died in 56. I was about 22 years old. I was born and reared in the Baptist Hill community. The Baptist Hill community is one of the four communities, black communities, that blacks lived in because of segregation. You could not live in any other communities. So there were four black communities: Baptist Hill, Bennett Side, Methodist Side, and Carpensville. I lived in the Baptist Hill community from 1 year old until now. I am now 91 years old. I was born September the 5th, 1934, in the Baptist Hill community at 601 West Watt Street on the corner of Watts and Carroll Street. Growing up in a segregated black community, which, at that young age, I was not aware of all of the entities or whatever that went along with segregation. But I grew up in a loving home with my grandmother. My grandfather was dead. And I grew up with my grandmother and lived there until, I married. I married in 1956. I was a happy child growing up in Baptist Hill, as all of the kids my house was the center. My grandmother's house was the center of all of the activities in the community. The kids would come because there was a light post, which was not prevalent in many of the other black communities. And the kids would come and we would play hopscotch, little saddle walking, all of those type of exercises. And we were happy because we were loved. We had a community that loved us. We had a church that loved us. And the community, took care of the children. My mother was you've heard of the Help movie. My mother I didn't have to read the book because I knew all about Help, because my mother was a Help. She worked for $10 a week for the Rollins family in Enterprise. He was the pharmacist here. She helped raise their three children. Mary Rollins is one of them. And, just to think, I'm a little poor black girl. My mother, when I finished high school, went to Sarasota, Florida, because she wanted to give me an education, and I wanted to get an education. I went to 5 years old. I started school at the Enterprise, the Dawn School. Mr. W.M. Dawn organized the school, and he was given the opportunity to be the principal of the Dawn Academy. I stayed there at the Dawn Academy, changed from Dawn Academy to Enterprise Academy. And when I became ninth grade, 10th grade, it only went to the 10th grade, and then you had to go to Carpenville School. So I was bused from the Baptist Hill community, past the Enterprise Junior High School, which was so white, all the way about 5 miles out in the Carpenville community, which is east of the bypass. I went to Carpenville. It was called Coffee County Training School. And I went there from the 11th and 12th grade. I finished there in 1951. Mr. B.F. Goff was the principal. We had loving teachers who took care of us. We had pot-bellied stoves at that time. Outhouses was the trend of the day. And I graduated in 1951, 16 years of age. I was 16, and my mother had gone to Florida. She was making $10 a week here in Enterprise. She had a friend in Sarasota, Florida, who encouraged her to come there because she could make a little more money. My mother went to the laundry at 7:30, finished there at 4:30. Then she went downtown Sarasota, Florida, to one of the cafeterias and worked 11 and 12 o'clock at night washing pots and pans and doing what you needed to do in a cafe to send me to college. I went to Alabama State in 1951. And all of my classmates, I had 3 or 4 classmates that went with me, and they got jobs. Mr. Taylor, who was over the finance, said that I couldn't get a job because my mother sent my money by the quarter, which was $150 a quarter. And I did not work when I was in college, but my mother provided me with everything that I needed, clothing, toiletries, and whatever else. And I also, at that time in 1953, joined the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I'm now a Pearl member of Alpha Kappa sorority because I've been in it more than 70 years. I graduated in 1954 because my mother sent me summer and winter. So I went to college at 16. I finished at 19. And the superintendent hired me to be a teacher, 3rd grade teacher in the Enterprise Academy School in 1954. So I started my first year teaching. I was not 20 years old. School started in August, and I was 20 years old on the 5th of September. And I had my first class of black students because the schools were segregated. And my husband came, whom I didn't know was going to be my husband. I started in 54. He had been in the Army in the Korean conflict, and he came and they hired him. Mr. Snellgrove hired him. And 9 months later, we were married. So I was married, that's 21 years old. I married him when I was 21. Vernetta DeRamus from Prattville, Alabama. Out in the country called Vida, Alabama. So I had a good husband. We only had one son. His name is Vernetta DeRamus Jr. He was born in 1957. So he'll be 68 years old coming November. He's a West Point graduate, the last all-boys class at West Point, 1979. And he was a good boy, never had any problems. And back to Baptist Hill, we were all proud of him. That was a big thing for a black boy going to West Point in 1975. So we were proud of him. He graduated, went through Fort Rucker, the helicopter school, and the rest is history about that. The Baptist Hill community was a loving community. It nurtured the children. When our parents went, as it said in the movie Help, the black women were going everywhere, all over Enterprise, to take care of the white children, to cook and to clean. And the grandmothers, like my grandmother, kept the children while the parents worked. Baptist Hill that I grew up in was a beautiful, wonderful community. Now it's a different place because all the old settlers are gone. But they took care of us. We went to church. We were dutiful. We were always respectful. We had the community members and mothers of the community that watched over us. It was a thriving community. We had the funeral home, Ray Scania's funeral home. We had grocery stores, Edwards grocery store. We had the DeBose store. So at the Snell's grocery store. We had the Dowling cafeteria. And it was a thriving community. We went to town, to downtown Enterprise was a treat. We went to the movies, which we had 2 here in Enterprise, Rich Theater and the Levy Theater. You know, we had to go upstairs because it was segregated. The blacks went upstairs and the whites were downstairs. I remember back then we loved Hopalong Cassidy and all those cowboy movies. And we were just happy children during that time. We didn't realize the impact of segregation upon us, that we were not able to do what the majority race did. We couldn't go to that. If we went to the cafeteria, you had to go to the back door. I had a cousin who went and sat down in one of the places downtown. They told her, no, they don't serve blacks. And she sat there and they called the police. When she saw the police, she jumped up and ran up the street to the A&P where they grounded her and put her in jail. My husband at the time and her uncle, Paul Jones, went to get a lawyer to see if they could do something about that and to open up the places, because it had already been resolved that you wouldn't have segregation in public places and public businesses. And they won the case, and Enterprise was opened up because of that. They have a marker in the Baptist Hill community. It was historical that they named the school after Mr. Don and that it was a black school. Black hospital was in the Bennett side community. Dr. Keeby was the doctor at that time. He was a great surgeon. He built the hospital, and blacks went to his hospital. I never went there, but he had a hospital that was thriving. And he belonged to the Beulah Baptist Church that was over in the Baptist Hill community. Something happened to Dr. Keeby, an accident, and he left. That closed out the hospital. But it was a beautiful, and we were real proud of the Keeby Hospital over on Weeder Street. It was over on what is now Weeder Street. And after the hospital, they made it into a Carson cafe, recreation business, where the blacks would go and socialize and all of that. It was called the Carson Cafe of Recreation. And that was the part, and it was in the Keeby Hospital at that time. Reverend E.D. Jones was my pastor. He was my pastor at Beulah Baptist Church. I was brought up in St. Beulah Baptist Church in the Baptist Hill community. I was a friend he had children. One of them was Katrina. Katrina lives in Dothan now. And that was her daddy. He left Beulah Baptist Church and went to Beulah in Dothan. And I left Beulah Baptist Church when I was 22 years old because my husband went to John's Chapel AME Church at Old Methodist side. And during that time, husband wanted there, and we had this 1-year-old child. Husband wanted the wives and everybody to be together. So that's when I left Beulah Baptist Church and went to John's Chapel AME Church, where I am now a member of John's Chapel. I've been a member of John's Chapel since I was 22 years old. I played the organ and the piano for them all those years. I retired about 4 or 5 years ago. So there's a great history. And the community now is not like the community that I was brought up in. It's a different time. All of the old people that was in the community when I was a child, they are gone. There's a different environment in the Baptist Hill community where I grew up. There's a different environment in all of the black communities, the 4 black communities. There's life is different. Children are different. They're not as respectful as they used to be. The 4 black communities that blacks lived in the way back 1800s, they are still thriving. Baptist Hill is thriving. Bennett side still have their old community. uh, Methodist side have their communities. And each of those four communities are still thriving. We have blacks now that can live, I've been here 40 years in this community. But 40 years, 50 years ago, I couldn't have lived in this community because I was black. But I've been in this house now and I've lived here on Mack Street for 40 years. And so you can see the changes that have come about. And but the four communities are still thriving. They are still intact. They still have their churches there. Some of their businesses are still there. One of the schools, although Coffinville Training School, Coffinville High School, has moved now out on the bypass. It's no longer in the community. But they have a Boys and Girls Club over there, and it's still thriving, the community. And most of the blacks that's in Enterprise still live in these four communities. They are scattered all over the city, but the majority of the blacks still live in these four communities. In the Baptist Hill community, you had teachers like Miss Adele Edwards and Lily Ward, and you had my husband and I, Miss Eloise Jackson, Mr. George Flowers, Mr. S.D. Flowers. Those are the prominent people in the community. The Scania's Funeral Home, the Snell Grocery Store. These are the people that made a difference in the lives of the children and the people in the communities. All of them are gone now. But those are some of the prominent communities. And on Bennett's side, you had the Rogers, Coffinville, you still had the Rogers, and you had the Nances that lived in Coffinville. Methodist side, you had the Crawfords, and you had the Wilkersons, and those are some of the prominent people in Enterprise that the communities are proud of. Did I ever think we'd see the day when Enterprise had a black mayor? Well, I don't think so, my thoughts back then, but then as I lived and grew and became old, I realized it could be. Just like we had Obama, I didn't think that, but we did, and we were proud of him. And we were proud the mayor, he was the District 1, the mayor that we have now, he was a District 1 councilman for about 30 years. And then when the new mayor decided he was going to go to Montgomery, Mr. Cooper was in the position where that person would take his place, and that's how he became mayor.
William Bill Cooper has been reelected twice as mayor of Enterprise, Alabama. Mayor Cooper has continued to move Enterprise forward as one of the best places in Alabama to live, learn, and call home.
I've tried to live a good life. I tried to be an inspiration to children. I taught third grade for 15 years at the Enterprise Academy. When integration came, I went to Hillcrest Elementary School and taught reading. During that time, they didn't think black teachers could teach, so we were not put in the lower grades. And then the classrooms changed from self-contained until you had to rotate between the teachers. And I was given the job of being the reading teacher. And I taught there I did that at Hillcrest School for 7 years. I taught the reading teacher. Then I put in an application to go to the central office at the attendance supervisor. And due to the fact that the attendance supervisor, which was white, husband got sick, she had to leave, and we had a new superintendent with an open mind, and he hired me as the attendance supervisor for the Enterprise City Schools. And I stayed there for 15 years. And In all, I've only worked for one employer, and that's the Enterprise City School. I worked for 38 years. I retired at the age of 58 after working there for 38 years. So that's one thing that I'm proud of, that I think I helped a lot of kids. I was interested in them, wanted them to do good. I wanted them to become whatever it was that would improve the quality of their lives. I wanted them to have the opportunity to become whatever it was that would benefit the whole city, community, state, or whatever. And so many of the children that I served have done marvelous things. They made contributions all over the United States. So most of the kids, we had a brain drain in Enterprise. We had some smart kids, but they had to go to other cities in order to get a good job, like my son. And more of the children, they had to leave Alabama in order to get a good job. For instance, those black colleges like Alabama State, Tuskegee, Alabama A&M, those were the gridiron, the state for black students. We couldn't go to Alabama. Though I had two granddaughters that graduated from Alabama, and one graduated from an HBCU, Grambling. But back then, those black schools like Alabama State, you got a great education. We could go anywhere. My sister-in-laws, four of them went to Chicago. They were asking, is there anyone else back in Alabama that's a teacher? We'd love to have them, because they were good teachers. All those professors at Alabama State, they taught you well and did a good job. So I'm proud of things like that I've come through. I've come through a lot, being 91 years of age. I've seen a lot of changes, for good and some for bad. 1619 that settled in Jamestown, Virginia, it brought us over here against our will, but we have proven that we have been the champions of America. America would not be what it is today had it not been for the blacks. The first to die in the Revolutionary War, Christopher Adams, and all those great patriots and great Americans, black folks that saved us, and all the soldiers that went to war and they came back home and couldn't ride in the front of the bus, But that was our salvation. And now it's terrible. We still have segregation and discrimination. Now it's just on a different level. I have had to get up. I'm on almost the last seat in the bus, and I've had to get up and stand all the way from Montgomery to Enterprise to get home. So that was a part of our history, being black. The kids that, came in to sit down and all of those things to make it. Those that died, like Cheney and all of those that died that we might live. So it's still happening now. We still have young people who are dedicated and devoted to helping us. My husband, bless his heart, he was a great man. He did a lot for the community. He started the first Federal Credit Union for Coffee County and Geneva County. When they dissolved it and gave it to the All-in-One, they had $1 million, and I said they gave them that and 300 members, and we didn't get a thing from it. And that's one of my pet peeves, because he went from door to door to get that credit union started back in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. He organized the Baptist Hill Labor Day, which we have a proclamation now about what we do, the community, unity in the community. It's been organized 40-some years, and it's still going on. We just had our Labor Day. Every Labor Day, the Baptist Hill community have that. Every year, he would take the kids to the different campuses to encourage them and let them see colleges, the Alabama State, Tuskegee, and A&M, so that they could see and encourage them and get them inspired and want to be and want to do. Head Start is one of the greatest programs that we have still going on. My husband left teaching after 12 years and went to the community action program that's still alive in Troy, Head Start here out on 84. And he organized that. That was a federal program, and Enterprise City School got the program. But because they had to integrate and no discrimination, the superintendent, Mr. Snellgrove, decided to let it go. But God always intervened. His sister worked in Birmingham, and the paperwork came through the office she worked in. And she called my husband and asked him, why are you all terminating the Head Start program? And he didn't know about it. So in Enterprise, they had a men's progressive club, and my husband was a member of that club. And when he found out that they were going to let Head Start go, Coffee County would not have had Head Start had it not been for my husband and his sister making him aware that it was being discontinued. The Men's Progressive Club sponsored the Head Start program. They had to go homebound. They had to go homebound for a year to get the old Coffinville school in shape so that they could have the Head Start. And Head Start is alive and well now because of my husband. It's out on 84. They have a sign, the Enterprise Head Start and the Vernetta DeRamus Center.
Enterprise, Alabama's African American community has a rich history that is still alive today and exists throughout the city, from its historic neighborhoods to its African American mayor. Enterprise, Alabama is the city of progress.